Hey, future weapon enthusiasts, Nick Young here, CEO of Desert Tech. We have 2 new fully automatic rifles that we're debuting this year. And in celebration of this debut, we thought it would be awesome to reenact the most iconic and epic shootout scene in Hollywood history. And that would be the scene from Heat with Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Val Kilmer. It was totally crazy. It was the most extreme adventure that I've had in firearms to date. You guys are gonna love it. First, we're going to get into why we chose this scene from Heat. Then we're going to go over the safety protocols that we went through to ensure nobody was injured in the process. We're going to get into the sequence of fire that we followed, and then the gear and the guns and everything that we used to pull this off. Finally, we're going to go through and you get to watch this epic, extreme shootout scene reenacted by us. And after, we're going to do an after-action reaction from all of the participants that got to experience this crazy shootout. So stay tuned, because you've not seen intensity like this. It was awesome. You guys are gonna love this. But before we do, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel, because we're gonna do more crazy, epic, extreme shootout stuff like this in the future, and you don't wanna miss out. Why did we choose Heat as our reenactment? The reason is because it is the most realistic and intense shootout that has ever been recorded. They had these bank robbers who supposedly had former military experience that they rob the bank, they come out into the streets, run into the cops, and they have automatic rifles. Cops have Glocks and shotguns, and the robbers like totally overmatch the LA Police Department. They annihilate them. It is insane. They shoot the crap out of their cars and the people, and it's a crazy, intense firefight. And the tactics that they use are realistic. The reload techniques are realistic. The moving, all of that, the covering fire, communication, really kind of state-of-the-art tactics at the time that this came out. And I remember being a teenager, watching this in the movie theaters and being on the edge of my seat in awe. Just totally, it was crazy. But they used realistic gunfire. They actually recorded the audio of the shots being fired during the recording rather than dubbing over with some fake noises. And it just, everything was so focused on realism that it was awesome. If you haven't seen Heat, I encourage everybody to watch it. It is an awesome movie. We understood the inherent dangers of reenacting the shootout, and so safety was paramount in everything that we did. The 3 shooters that participated in this exercise was myself, Nick Young, CEO of Desert Tech, and I am not former military, but I've taken a lot of tactical pistol and rifle courses and did a lot of competing over the years. The other 2 shooters are military and former military. Mark Sorensen, he's retired military, and Dustin Stevens is currently a National Guard Reserve. And our range officer, Abir Levy, was in the military in Israel, and so his job was to kind of choreograph and make sure that we was safe during all of our practices and whatnot. But it took a lot of planning to pull this off. We mapped out the entire course of fire. We rehearsed the moving and the communicating and the driving in the vehicle and getting in and out of the car with our firearms safely without flagging anybody with our muzzles. And meanwhile, Abir was watching us, ensuring that at no time then that we flagged each other or was unsafe. We had designated fields of fire because we were shooting forward and backwards and at times to the side, and we didn't want to crossfire and endanger anybody else. And we didn't want to hurt the cameraman. And so we had GoPros all over the place, like 200 of them. We had them at the targets, we had them on the barricaded cars, we had them on our guns, in our glasses, pretty much everywhere we could get them. So we didn't want anybody injured, and so we tried to capture as much of the intense footage passively with all of these posted cameras all over the place. Although Mark did manage to shoot 3 of his GoPros on his downrange, and Dustin and I didn't hit any of our GoPros, so he might have to do some explaining. Now we're going to talk about the sequence of fire. In the movie, Michael Mann took 3 weeks to film the shootout scene in the streets of LA. We wanted to capture this entire firefight in one take, and we did it, and we ended up firing 1,200 rounds per shooter to pull it off. Now in the movie, the bank robbers, they're robbing the bank, and then they come out of the bank and they discreetly walk to their getaway car, and our sequence of fire starts when they are walking out of the bank. And so we're going to talk about, the enemies that we're engaging as being enemies and not police, because I don't condone firing on police. We're very pro police. Anyways, so we bought lady mannequins off Amazon, and our lady mannequins were the cheapest mannequins that we could find. So our enemies are these lady mannequins, and we discreetly walk up to the vehicle and we engage 2 sets of lady mannequins at 2 different directions. We jump in the car and we race forward and find a barricade of lady mannequins in front of us. And we end up, while the car is moving, engaging enemies out the back window, out the side window, and forward through the windshield. And I got to shoot through the windshield, which was awesome, amazingly fun. And we get up to the barricade, we jump out, and we have hay bales stacked to represent vehicles for cover. And so we communicate and do evasion tactics to bound forward, provide suppression fire, covering fire to get away. As we get to the barricade, Dustin veers off to the right, simulates being shot just like Val Kilmer did in the movie, and then I go and I rescue Dustin and get him out of there, and Mark veers off to the left and gets split off from us. And so then I take Dustin and we retreat to another vehicle. Meanwhile, I get to engage enemies with full auto fire with one arm. And I get to haul Dustin around with my other arm, which honestly was a lot easier to hit than I expected. So we get in the station wagon, we get away. Mark, going off on the left, he ends up taking a hostage like in the movie, and he is walking backwards. And in the movie, when they turn around, then Al Pacino shoots him in the head. And it takes him about 1.4 seconds, if I remember right, to do that. And so we told Mark, when you turn, if you can engage that enemy in less than 1.4 seconds, you get to live. If not, you die. And so stay tuned, you get to watch to see if Mark lives or dies. Now, everything went off exactly as we rehearsed and planned, really smoothly. However, Dustin had an unexpected surprise, and we'll talk about that in the after action report. All right, we're going to jump into the weapons and gear that it took to pull this off. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is this super cool replica vest, magazine vest, that was donated from commandostore.com. They donated 3 vests, and we altered 2 of them to fit our Quadstack magazines, and we can fit up to 8 magazines on this vest. However, for the Quadstack, we did find that they were a little bit too big on the shoulders to not poke the suit out too far. And so Mark, he had 30 round magazines, and so he ran all 8, but Dustin and I, we ran all 6 and left the 2 shoulders off, but we still had more ammunition in our 6 mags than he did in his 8. So the next thing we're going to talk about is our suits. So I ended up buying a like $18 suit from the thrift store, and the other guys did the same. But the jacket I had bought from the thrift store was a couple sizes bigger. So this is not the thrift store jacket. This is my normal size jacket. And you see, it doesn't quite cover the magazines and rifle very, very well. And so that's why I got a little bit bigger size suit. But you can see it actually covers pretty good for what it is. I mean, yeah, it's pretty cool. So the guns that Dustin and I were shooting are Desert Tech's Infinity 16 rifles. So this is the full auto variant of the Quattro 15, and these run with the 53 round Quadstack magazines that we make. And it was very obvious that these provided a significant advantage over the 30 round magazines. When we did the shoot, we had half as many reloads, and it seemed like, Mark, all he was doing was reloading. Very cool. The second rifle that we used in this epic shootout is our new SABERTOOTH rifle. This is a fully automatic rifle intended for police and military cells, and it's in 5.56, and it has a full 16-inch barrel, which means that it had about 350 feet per second more velocity coming out of the weapon than the 10.3-inch infinity barrels. And as you look at the overall length of these two things, they are pretty much the same size with the stock collapsed. Let's see if we can get it this way. Anyways, so very effective, a decent amount of knockdown power out of that 16-inch barrel. We ran 2-point slings with bungees on them and attached it to our vest so that we could just drop the rifle to the side and it would sit in our suit. And then when we brought it up, we could punch out and not be restricted by the tension of the sling. We ran 507C hollow suns on all of the rifles. The red dot was very bright and very easy to pick up in the sunlight. But yeah, those are the two rifles that we used to conduct this insane shootout. As we did this shootout, we wanted to immerse all of you in, see what it was like in our shoes behind the rifles. So we called AimCam, and they donated 3 sets of these glasses, and they got a point of view camera on here, so you get to see point of view shots of us doing fully automatic fire on these mannequin targets. And so these glasses come with different color lenses. I have the yellow ones in there now, but we had sunglass lenses, and they also have just clear lenses. Big shout out and thank you to AimCam. The other thing we did to immerse you guys into the experience was we bought some 360-degree GoPros, and we contacted Kinetic Research Group, and they donated the quick detachable GoPro mount that goes in the M-LOK slots. And this is pretty neat. It's super easy to put in there. It just pops right in. There we go. So if I want to move it up and down the rail, I can do that. And so as we were aiming, we just had these 360 GoPros set up like that. Very cool. So we could see everything around, everything in the front. We are finally at the point where you get to witness this epic shootout scene. Things that you should watch for. First is how controllable real full auto fire with real bullets is compared to Hollywood blanks. Second is you get to see the reduced reloads required for our QMAG 53s versus the 30-round mags that Mark is running in his SABERTOOTH rifle. Third, you get to witness how effective, or I should say ineffective, vehicles are to provide covering fire. So the ammunition that we fired was just standard ball ammo, PMC bronze. It was nothing special, but it zipped right through those cars. All right, let's get into it.
I'm in. Go.
Move! Go!
We just finished the heat shootout sequence, and here is our after action review. So what did you guys think of this extreme experience?
This is like a once in a lifetime type of thing, you know? It's not like, I don't know how many people get the chance to go to the range and say, I am going to shoot this many rounds today, and I'm going to do that with two other people maneuvering next to me.
In a car, a moving
in a car, right? That you get the chance to shoot through a windshield, right? No, people aren't going to the range that day and saying, I'm going to shoot through my windshield today and go to Safe Flight or whoever afterwards and put a new windshield in my, like, it doesn't happen.
Well, you wake up and be like, you get paid to go and shoot 2,000 rounds.
I mean, we shot holes through 6 vehicles, right? 7 if you count the one that we were riding in, right? Like, this is an opportunity that you don't get. Once again, probably unless you're an operator that's going through one of their multiple schools, they might get that opportunity.
Yeah, as base, I mean, I don't know what your unit was or currently is, but I was 82nd, and at no point in time did we ever do moving vehicles, shooting through windshields, any of that stuff. So
3 of us were in the military. I did have experience in war, so I did shoot from moving vehicles, mostly tanks, but never shooting through a windshield.
Shooting through the windshield, I thought was pretty neat. I always wanted to do that. And when I let off the first couple rounds and the whole windshield just went white.
That and like fog of war is like a real thing.
Yep.
Like you get gas overload in your face and the vehicle fills up with smoke. At one point it's like the car's on fire from the inside.
Yeah,
it's just this smoke fest just coming straight out.
Oh,
And that was with windows. That was with multiple windows down.
Yeah, I don't
And
think
all the windows down.
Yeah, I was holding my breath the whole time, just, and then I drilled a little hole out, I kind of intentionally made a circle and then just gouged my barrel out so that the smoke would go out the side of the car.
Yeah, but the first 2 or 3 bursts, I'm like, I can't see anything. And we had 2 tires that were kind of flat. Not kind of, they were flat. So I was trying to keep the car straight, but I was like, nope.
Yeah, my takeaway from the car scene was suppressors, because my gosh, was...
And do not shoot through the windshield, shoot outside the window.
So as far as like the moving and the covering firing, how did you guys feel like that went?
good. I think it's important to point out that we actually rehearsed for a couple hours a day for about 2 weeks.
3.
And then even once we got on site, we rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed just because of the risk. I mean, I trusted the fact I was shooting with you guys, but just the risk it carries when, you know, you're swinging your gun up and over people who are 10 feet away from you. The movements we were making, the way that we were keeping each other safe while still hitting our targets quickly and efficiently. I mean, we did it right. We did it right. You know, the movements we were making, we were calling each other to move. We knew when people were going to move.
Bang, bang.
We knew what to expect after just working with each other for a couple of weeks. We were able to build that muscle memory over that period of time. I think it really helped us when we went live. There was a lot of trust that you have to have when you're doing what we did.
You know, something I noticed that was different for me was when we rehearsed, we always did it with cones in a parking lot. And I think people take for granted when you're training with your buddies, you know, or you're on a flat range, it's exactly that, it's a flat range. Footwork, weirdly enough. There was a bunch of gravel and loose terrain, and there was dips, and the ground's not even. And so when you're moving, you go from a flat parking lot where you just kind of don't even think about it to, I can't step in this pothole, or the ground's gonna dip right here, or there's a rock in my way that I'm gonna stumble over. When you have loaded rifles with, you know, lots of ammo and you have the potential for cook-offs, you start to take into consideration, like, I think safety becomes much more of a concern in your mind. I think a lot of guys think that when stuff goes out the window, you're gonna lose all presence and control in terms of your mental state. But I just don't think that really happens to a lot of people. I think if anything, you become more cognizant of, okay, I really have to drill down here and take some time and consideration and be like, where's my muzzle? So that was cool. I thought that I would get wrapped up in the moment and start just kind of going and going and going, but there was a coolness to it. It was just kind of like, okay, we're just gonna, you know, methodically walk out the process. So.
Right. For me, it seemed like there was a lot of thought that had to be put into it too, because as you would call for your teammates to move, you didn't want to be out of ammo. And so you had to really sit there and time the amount of times you pulled the trigger. And for me, it seemed like I could you know, do about 15 bursts in full auto with the Quattro before I was about out of ammo. And so that kind of helped me to gauge when I would call moving for you guys, so that I didn't, you know, not be able to cover you guys as you guys were approaching.
Yeah, I don't think at any one point we had an incident outside of the cook-offs, which is not like that person was aiming the weapon. I mean, you weren't aiming the weapon at anyone, you know, for anything I think the biggest safety problem that presented itself was getting in and out of the vehicles. With the bags and with all the gear, and you're in a suit, and so there's less movement, and you're getting choked by your some of that stuff. What I noticed with the bullpup was I was going to come right across the driver. So we took precautions in the scene to have like mag staged in the front, in the seat pockets to make sure that I got in the car with a dry weapon and was able to. So
see, but I didn't have a dry weapon.
Yeah.
Right, and you guys saw I rehearsed it multiple times just by myself to make sure that my movement in and out with a hot weapon was going to be safe. Right, when I'd get in, it was pointing up. I'd turn around, go out the back window, and I practiced just to make sure that I wasn't going to be flagging.
Yeah, and there was because you and I were in the back seat, and so I just had to remind myself, because we decided when you get in the car, there's going to be a very slight moment if I'm leaning back that the weapon's going to come right across the side of my head. What we ended up doing whenever Dustin would get in and out of the vehicles, I would just kind of lean forward ever so slightly. So just little things like that you don't think about until you sit there and drill down with it, and you're like, oh yeah, there's a moment here where a gun muzzle passes somebody.
Right.
So yeah.
I was honestly, I was a little nervous because we did the full sequence all the way through live fire for the first time, and we rehearsed, so we were going to be safe and everything, but still, you're just kind of on edge. But halfway through, it's rocking pretty good. Super excited and fun. So, what did you guys think about using vehicles for cover?
Don't hide behind a car door in a gunshot.
Yeah, getting to see afterwards, like the aftermath, right, where you could clearly see that you had rounds going through the front, so like the grill of the vehicle, and then you'd see the holes through the passenger and the driver seats, through the rear columns of the vehicle, and then still just hammering the targets. Unless you're directly behind that engine block against those smaller calibers, holes were everywhere.
Yeah, we were shooting standard ball ammo, nothing special, and it was zipping through the cars. It would go through both doors and hit somebody on the other side. Pretty much the only place somebody would be safe is behind the engine block.
Nothing in the body there, but we got one.
So, yeah, just thinking about that was like, okay, I might need to reevaluate. Yeah, if my door gets kicked in late at night, where am I going to go and take cover, for that impending fight? The whole chest cavity of a target was shot out, and it was sitting behind a metal door that was about that thick. So it's just good luck.
So as far as we shot in when we did the entire sequence all the way through, we shot over 1,200 rounds between all three of us.
2,000 actually.
Yeah, 2,000. And so
I shot the most.
Yeah. You had to have extra mags.
Yeah.
So as we did that, all of it was full auto fire. How controllable was the weapons in full auto? Because in Hollywood, they use blanks, and the guns don't really move around so much. But with real ammo, it's a different experience.
To be honest, I've shot full auto. Whether it was shooting burst in the military or automatic weapons in the military, I've done it a lot. But every single time I do it, generally speaking, I start out a little bit nervous, just because I know what it can do. The very first burst I did that day when we were just testing out the guns, I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. They were accurate. It was easy enough to stay right on target. You could keep an easy eye on your dot. I had a blast with it. So,
what about you, Mark?
Yeah, I used this little system here. I had a longer barrel on the situation, and again, from the car to full auto fire, the power of a bullpup, all that action's back in your shoulder. So there was a point at which I think I tried to get on target really quickly and was just able to one-hand it for the first couple rounds. We
weren't shooting very far,
no,
right? But even watching some of the
100 yards in the end.
Yeah, watching some of the impacts hit the targets, you see that you were able to just stay and just nail that target consistently, 7, 10, 15 rounds. If
I have to get a full auto gun, I really think I'm gonna end up going with either a SABERTOOTH. But generally, just like the Wolverine, which is your semi-auto counterpart. I mean, just a really soft recoiling system. And as you start to put suppressors on there, and we didn't have suppressors or really compensators, we didn't have some of the things that make guns a little bit more controllable, and it was still something that I was very easily, getting around the gun, controlling the weapon system. The ergos are phenomenal. And this is coming from a guy that spent the better part of all of my shooting experience on an M4 or an AR-15. Yeah, I'd take this any day.
So as far as reliability goes, we shot enough ammunition that we actually blew up the buffers inside of these rifle kits that we attached to our Infinities.
Those weren't full auto rated.
Yeah, they weren't full auto rated. And so, do we have any other incidents that you want to tell us about, Dustin?
So we did. So on our first run, so I shot somewhere between 450 and 500 rounds on that first iteration, which was about 90 seconds, I think is about what it was.
A lot of fire.
Mm-hmm. And
that was pretty.
At the end of my part of the scene, as the Val Kilmer guy, I take a hit and I go down. And when I was laying on the ground, my gun actually cooked off. It scared the crap out of me. It was about 6 or 8 inches away from my foot.
Luckily, pointing down range still.
Right, yeah. After that, I was more prepared because I kind of figured that's what it was. I checked my rifle again, made sure it was on safe. It's like, okay, something could have broke. So I kept it in that nice, safe direction. And then when you actually came over to pick me up there, it actually cooked off a second time. So we quickly moved off the counter there, and I told you exactly what I was gonna do. I was like, hey, cook off. I'm gonna clear it.
Right.
Drop my mag, eject around, hits the hillside, rolls down by my foot, and blows up right there by my foot. Luckily, I was wearing some nice boots, and nothing happened to me. But cooked off 3 rounds.
Right.
That gun was hot. It was hot.
Really
It was hot.
Really, really hot.
Conversely, I had no problems at all. In fact, I was worried that I wasn't shooting enough.
Well, I think the difference though is, I shot 8.5 to 9 mags, and for you to have shot as much as me, you would have had to redo what, 15, 16
I think
mags?
that first run, I think I shot all but 1, and I was loaded with 12. Because I had 6 here, plus I had 2 here, 1 in my pocket, and then 1 in the gun.
Yeah.
So I was like between 9 and 12 mags, give or take. Because I had staged like 2 or 3 mags at each burn.
Yeah, that's the difference. You had to stage mags. I had it all.
Right. If carrying ammo is a concern, then I don't think the Quattro is unparalleled in that capacity. Outside of obviously a belt.
Especially for full auto.
But if you want the accuracy of hitting GoPros very consistently,
if that is the case,
SABERTOOTH wins.
Yes, apparently I am the GoPro murderer. Yes.
Yeah, but for full auto, like the Quattro is a lot better than the SABERTOOTH, just because a lot more rounds down range at the same time.
When fire superiority wins gunfights, which it does, the Quattro is going to win every time. Doesn't matter how accurate or how niche your product is. If you have to reload twice or 3 times as much as the other guy, you will lose that fight every time. It's just how it is.
We started this, we wanted to do like a competition to see who could do the most carnage on the enemy targets. And so who do you guys think won this?
Me.
So I vote for Dustin too. He managed to intentionally shoot through the vehicle on all of his dummies, and that just ripped him to shreds. Because it wasn't just the bullet that was penetrating the mannequin, it was shrapnel from the vehicle. And pretty much every mannequin that he had had a huge.
All right, y'all, in the comments, Team Mark, Team Dustin, or Team Nick. Team Mark for the GoPros. Okay?
I have more headshots though, for sure.
Team Dustin for the for the penetration, if you know what I'm saying.
We created this limited edition t-shirt to celebrate the debut of these 2 new rifles. If you're interested in buying one, you can click the link below. They will be available for the next 7 days only. All of the proceeds that we make from these t-shirts go in to fund the next epic shootout scenes. So we appreciate your support. Reenacting this epic movie shootout has been a lifetime dream of mine. I always wanted to experience shooting through a windshield of a moving vehicle at targets and just going crazy with automatic fire, just like what we did. And this did not disappoint. Let me know what you guys thought of this shootout, and tell me what other shootouts that you guys like from other movies or sniper shots and whatnot. If you are interested to get more information on these automatic rifles, you can click the links here to watch some more information on those. Thanks for watching.
I'm just gonna slice the mannequin's head right off. And I just took this thing and within about a 4-shot burst, was just like right off the top, at the neck, arm right off. I mean, it was like precision work almost. Full auto is not super controllable.
And unfortunately, dead GoPro.